All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Reveal the Shield Special Ops Jazz. A pretty fun figure here. Now, obviously, mine is a little worse for wear here. This was, I've had this figure since before I knew how to properly keep figures and keep them out of like UV light, like sunlight, and keep them in the proper humidity and stuff like that. So this guy has yellowed pretty poorly, unfortunately. But that's my fault. But yeah, other than that, he is a fun figure, all things considered. Now, the Reveal the Shield line was kind of an interesting one because it was basically like a separate Generations line that just existed at the same time, but it also had a few figures from like the movie like molds. So it was kind of a mishmash, but obviously the central, I don't know, gimmick, if you want to call it that, is they all had the rub signs from G1. So you can get that here with Jazz. I guess that's why he's special ops. I mean, he's special ops for like trademark reasons, because obviously Jazz is just too generic a term, but he's got the rub sign up there, which, the rub signs are always neat. I kind of prefer just the regular Autobot logos generally, but it was part of the line. And otherwise decent car mode. Obviously, since he's not really a Porsche, they get away with actually using the 4 on there, but I do like the striping and stuff like that. Would have been nice if like the front grille was or like the front grille here was like picked out. It doesn't have tail lights, or the little exhaust pipes aren't picked up, but other than that, he's pretty good there here. Now, this figure did originally come with a folding gun, which I lost a long time ago, but it could just store underneath here in the bumper. And he also comes with 2 other accessories that I have stored inside him right now, because what you can actually do is you can actually open the doors here, and each of them have this little piece that's attached here that can kind of untab and flip around like this, and then you can actually close the door back up and give him these little fold out speakers that can kind of like come out of his windows in car mode, and that's really cool. And they can also, like, if you fold them this way, they have like sculpting at the end of them that sort of implies they can be used as like little, I don't know, sci-fi blasters or something like that. So he can use them as guns, or he can use them as speakers. They're on the like little 3mm clip system that they were doing a lot at the time. I don't tend to take them on and off. One of these cracked on me once, so I tend to just leave them on there. But just for the sake of the video. They also are on like a clear plastic rotating hinge, which is clear plastic on both sides, which is a little bit spooky, but thankfully it's a small enough part that I'm not overly worried about it. But he does have that on both sides, which I think is really cool that they made it so that those could actually like deploy in vehicle mode as well. And then you fold them up, you just tab them into the side of the door here, and then you can just close them back up. There's plenty of room for them in there. And I've always really liked that feature. I think that's pretty cool here. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see how he scales with an average modern deluxe. And here he is with Studio Series 86 Jazz, who's obviously much more closely modeled on the Porsche there. Mine, of course, has, like Toy Hacks labels on it to actually give it the 4 and the darker stripes, since it was going for more of the cartoon design. But that's what the 2 of them look like together. I do prefer Studio Series 86 Jazz, but this figure has a lot of fun stuff about him as well. To get onto transformation, first thing we want to do is just open the doors here and just leave them out to the side like that for now. You can then take the arms and fold them down like this, and then fold them out to the side on these joints here. And they also will bring these panels in with them, which is kind of a cool trick there. And then you just want to rotate these down at the ball joint there. And then we'll do the legs first. You can kind of untab them from this back panel, which you do want to be kind of careful about because it's a clear plastic tab here. You can see one of them snapped off on mine, but luckily it stays in place okay. And then you kind of bring these down at the hips here, and then the legs have kind of a neat feature too, where you separate them, you kind of rotate up the foot here, and you want to make sure, because sometimes this can happen, is this panel will flip over to the underside. It's spring loaded, so basically what you want to do is leave it like that, and then fold open you fold up the spoiler, but you don't really have to, it kind of does it on its own, but fold open the whole leg like that, so that panel will spring load open and kind of fill in the leg there, and then we can open up the foot and bring the heel to the back there. And yeah, that's a neat feature. Like I said, it does have a tendency sometimes to, like, you can accidentally get that panel locked behind the foot, and then it's kind of a pain to get it back, but it still works, all things considered. And then it's kind of done on its own here, but yeah, he's got this kind of like automorph gimmick where you bring down the chest and it's geared to the head, so it'll flip it up like that, and then you can just bring the windshield up and kind of double hinge it up to sit in place there. And there we have Special Ops Jazz in his robot mode. And yeah, I really like his robot mode. He's got a really nice design here. Obviously, he's going for the door wings aesthetic for Jazz, which is, a common argument between fans of the community, because the toy had the door wings, but the original show model did not. So, yep, this one opts for the door wings. I don't really mind either way. I like the look of it. Now, the big problem with this figure is that the chest really does not lock in at all. So you kind of move the arms and it's flipping out. I don't see why this couldn't have had some sort of like tabbing or locking mechanism, but it doesn't. So you do have to kind of hold the chest in place when you move them around, which is super annoying. But it sucks, but it's not like the end of the world. And then yes, obviously you can see mine was clearly stored in robot mode with the side facing a window or something. Sigh, but it can happen to figures when they're improperly stored. But yeah, head sculpt is okay. One of the complaints at the time, which I definitely agree with, is I don't really mind like neutral expressions on figures, even though like characters like Jazz and Bumblebee would be nice with like a smirk or something, but he's like actively frowning, which I think makes him look just like a little bit too over serious, which is not great for Jazz as a character who's pretty like jovial in the show. So I'm not really in love with like the face sculpt, but overall the like overall shape of the head is pretty good. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint here, which can rotate around and look up about that far. The shoulders are on ball joints, which can rotate around before they bump into this here. There is like a separate hinge here that you can use to like widen this gap so that, the arms can rotate up a little bit more out of these bits, which can be kind of annoying, honestly, when you're going back into vehicle mode and trying to line those panels up, but it is nice that it has it there. He's got a bicep swivel. Also, I should mention that I have tightened up the shoulder ball joints on mine once or twice, but they are, especially when you get them up to this point, they're a little bit loose. But yeah, he's got a bicep swivel. He's got a double jointed elbow here, which unfortunately, yeah, I mean, you kind of have to activate the bottom joint first, but they don't like move super like nicely in tandem. Like if you move this one, then it kind of gets like locked up on this corner, so you have to move this one first and then that one. But it's manageable. He's got ball joints at the wrist, which is nice, so you can rotate around like that. He's got, you can see just like how much this misbehaving. He's got a waist cut, which does bump into the back panel here, but if you move that out of the way, it does rotate all the way around. He's got ball joints at the hips, or no, actually, no, they're not ball joints, they're just universal joints, but they can rotate forward and back and out to the side, only about that far. He's got a thigh swivel. A double jointed knee, but you only really get about 90 degrees of bend there just because of all the junk on the back of his calves there. And then the feet, you can tilt them back like as a full unit. You can't really tilt them so far forward. I mean, I guess if you compress this panel up a little bit, you can. So yeah, that kind of works, but they don't have any side to side tilt. They're just sculpted in that slight A stance there. So aside from, the lack of ankle tilts, he's pretty modern in terms of articulation. And then obviously, he did come with a gun that like double hinged open and he could hold. It didn't really have any great place to store, if I remember correctly. I mean, I guess you could kind of like store it underneath the chest here, but it bumped into this stuff, so it didn't like, the chest wouldn't stay totally flush, and it already has problems staying in place, so that was kind of annoying. Obviously, you can deploy these bits if you want and fold them open just like you could in vehicle mode, which is still pretty cool. The gun, if I remember correctly, also did have 3mm clip points on them, so you could actually take these off and clip them to the gun and then fold open like these sides so they would make like a super blaster, which was kind of a cool feature. I lost that gun years ago, like pretty much right after I got the figure, so that's kind of unfortunate. But either way, I do really like the speakers that can flip out of the door wings here, and you can kind of compress them a little bit so they only stick out about that much rather than like the full flip out for vehicle mode, just so they stay a little bit more tightly clung to the doors there. But yeah, it's still a really neat feature, and I like how that integrated with the handheld gun as well. Even if the gun itself didn't have like great storage in robot mode, at least it had good vehicle mode storage. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see he's a fairly tall deluxe, a little bit taller than him. And here he is with Studio Series 86 Jazz, who obviously, you know, obviously, aside from the yellowing, he looks a lot better in terms of that. But just the shaping of like how they looked compared to the cartoon model, this guy's definitely a bit more accurate. Again, he opts for the no door wings look, which, you know, you'll have your preferences on. But yeah, either way, I think that they both look good, but I do generally prefer this figure. He's got his own problems, but this is just really, really annoying when messing with Special Ops Jazz. Like, that's really his Achilles heel, because other than that, and obviously other than, you know, the yellowing on my figure, he's a really nice figure. Like, yeah, I'd prefer that the head sculpt not be frowning, and, you know, there's like other little nitpicky things here and there, but really the main thing about this guy is he's just a fantastic figure with this one sort of a very annoying fatal flaw, which is definitely unfortunate, because other than that, he's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday and Thursday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Reveal the Shield Special Ops Jazz.